Welcome to Inside Biology. My name is Wilson, and I'm a biology enthusiast. Our topic today is how does warm water, a healthy diet, and regular exercise support belly fat reduction? Just like oxygen, water is a natural resource essential for life and can be used by humans and other living organisms. According to the Bible, water is described not only as a natural resource but also as a sacred gift from God, symbolizing life, purity, and spiritual renewal. From the very beginning, in Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, water is mentioned as part of creation. The Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Exodus chapter 17 verse 6. God provides water from the rock to quench Israel's thirst in the desert. Water is portrayed as essential for sustaining life, as seen when God provided wells, rivers, and rain to nourish his people and the land. Today it's not just water, it's warm water. Disclaimer: this content is typically for information and educational purposes only, and it's not a substitute for professional advice from qualified experts in the relevant field. Please consult with the professionals for specific needs. Let's begin. It's important to understand belly fat and why it matters. So, belly fat actually comes in two main types. First, we've got subcutaneous fat, which is found right under the skin. This one is mostly a cosmetic concern. Then there's visceral fat, which surrounds your internal organs. Now, this type is more serious, as it's linked to things like insulin resistance, high cholesterol, and cardiovascular disease. Reducing visceral fat, it really does wonders for your body. It improves your metabolic health, helps lower inflammation, and honestly, it reduces your risk of chronic diseases. Warm water doesn't exactly burn fat directly, but it does create physiological conditions that make fat metabolism more efficient. So let's talk about thermogenic energy expenditure. When you drink warm water, usually somewhere between 40 to 50 degrees Celsius, that's comfortably warm, but not scalding. It actually raises the temperature of your gastrointestinal tract and, to a small extent, the blood vessels nearby. This rise in core temperature is picked up by thermoreceptors in your hypothalamus. The hypothalamus then gets to work triggering heat regulation responses to keep your body's core temperature hovering right around 37 degrees Celsius, which is optimal. Now about thermogenesis. This is basically the body's way of producing heat, and it needs energy in the form of calories to do that. So when your body temperature goes up just a bit from drinking warm water, your body responds by kicking off active heat loss processes like vasodilation and sometimes even mild sweating, as well as making a few metabolic tweaks. All these actions need ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, which your body makes by breaking down carbohydrates and fats. If you make drinking warm water a daily habit, these small bursts of calorie burning can add up, giving your total daily energy expenditure, or TDE, a slight boost. Now, during thermogenesis, the body releases catecholamines like norepinephrine, which attach to beta adrenergic receptors on your fat cells. This in turn activates an enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase, or HSL, which is responsible for lipolysis. That's just a fancy word for breaking down stored triglycerides into free fatty acids, and glycerol. These free fatty acids then enter the bloodstream, where your muscles and other tissues can use them for energy. Alright, let's talk about why hydration really matters when it comes to breaking down fat. Lipolysis is the biochemical process where our bodies break down stored fat, which we call triglycerides, into two main things: free fatty acids and glycerol. The free fatty acids are used by our tissues for energy, while the glycerol can actually be converted into glucose in the liver through a process called gluconeogenesis. Now, this whole thing is enzyme driven and mostly happens right inside our fat cells, or adipocytes. For lipolysis to work efficiently, our bodies need to have enough water available. That's because water acts as a key reactant in many metabolic reactions. When we're dehydrated, it can really mess with enzyme activity, slow down our circulation, and even reduce how well nutrients and oxygen get delivered to our tissues. So, staying hydrated is honestly super important for fat breakdown. Now, let's look at how warm water can affect enzyme efficiency. Enzymes, including those that help us metabolize fat, work best when the temperature and hydration levels are just right. There's a particular enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase, or HSL, which is activated by hormones like norepinephrine and epinephrine, and it's absolutely crucial for starting the lipolysis process. Another one, lipoprotein lipase, or LPL, helps transport fatty acids in and out of our cells, and it also really needs proper hydration to function at its best. Drinking warm water keeps tissue temperature slightly elevated and blood plasma adequately hydrated, creating a favorable environment for enzyme kinetics. Hydration directly influences plasma volume, that's the liquid part of the blood. Adequate plasma volume ensures that free fatty acids and glycerol released from fat cells are quickly transported to skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and the liver for oxidation or energy production. Warm water compared to cold water promotes vasodilation, which is just the widening of blood vessels, and this improves perfusion, the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to tissues, and removal of metabolic waste. This improves circulation, reduces the bottleneck effect in fat metabolism, where free fatty acids could otherwise accumulate in tissues and slow lipolysis. Proper hydration helps maintain blood osmolarity, which prevents excessive secretion of antidiuretic hormone or ADH. High ADH levels can indirectly promote fat storage through water sodium retention and mild cortisol elevation. Cellular hydration also influences AMP-activated protein kinase or AMPK, which is a kind of metabolic switch that promotes fat oxidation and inhibits fat storage. Alright, let's dive into how warm water can enhance gastrointestinal function. The gastrointestinal tract, or GI tract, is lined with smooth muscle fibers. These fibers contract rhythmically in waves, a process we call peristalsis, to push food and waste through our digestive system. Now, when we swallow warm water, it travels through the esophagus, stomach, and intestines, slightly raising the local temperature of the mucosa and the underlying smooth muscle. You see, heat acts as a mild muscle relaxant. It reduces spasms or tension in the intestinal wall, which is quite fascinating. This, in turn, facilitates smoother and more coordinated peristaltic waves. So, what does this mean for us? Well, it helps prevent sluggish bowel movements and constipation, making things flow a bit more smoothly. Moving on to the prevention of constipation and its link to abdominal size. Constipation can lead to the accumulation of stool and intestinal gas, which isn't too pleasant. This can increase abdominal girth, causing temporary distension. Plus, it brings along discomfort, a sense of heaviness, and bloating. By keeping bowel movements regular, warm water reduces fecal retention. It also minimizes transit time in the colon, which, lowers the chance of excessive fermentation of undigested food. This all helps create a healthy gut environment for nutrient absorption. When peristalsis is steady and the intestinal lining isn't inflamed or irritated, nutrient absorption in the small intestine really improves. Vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids are absorbed much more efficiently. This prevents the body from sending false hunger signals due to nutrient deficiencies, which can unfortunately lead to overeating and further fat accumulation. Poor digestion or slow intestinal transit allows undigested carbohydrates to reach the large intestine, where bacteria ferment them. This fermentation produces hydrogen, methane, and carbon dioxide gases. Excess gas, as you might expect, causes bloating and abdominal pressure. Warm water, it's quite fascinating how it supports our bodies. It helps with faster gastric emptying, allowing the stomach to process food more efficiently, and it aids in the more complete breakdown of macronutrients in the stomach and small intestine. This means there's less substrate left for bacterial fermentation in the colon. Oh, and let's not forget, it also aids in the mobilization of stored fat through hormonal support. Pretty interesting, right? Now let's talk about cortisol. It's a glucocorticoid hormone produced by the adrenal cortex in response to, physical or psychological stress. You see, mild dehydration can increase blood osmolarity, which acts as a stress signal. This prompts the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, or HPA, axis to release more cortisol. It's quite a complex process, but really essential to understand. So, how do we maintain hormonal balance? Well, adequate hydration, including from warm water, plays a key role. It helps maintain optimal plasma volume and osmotic balance, It also reduces the stress signal that triggers excess cortisol release. And importantly, it lowers the hormonal drive toward visceral fat accumulation. It's amazing how something as simple as hydration can have such a big impact, isn't it? So, drinking warm water can actually stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is often called the rest and digest mode. This kind of activation counters the sympathetic stress response, and as a result, it helps to reduce cortisol secretion. And, when stress hormone levels are lower, hormone-sensitive lipase, or HSL, is activated more efficiently, allowing your body to break down stored fat. The thyroid gland, it produces hormones like thyroxine, also known as T4 and triiodothyronine, or T3. These hormones are super important because they control your basal metabolic rate, which is just the number of calories your body burns while at rest. They also have a big influence on fat oxidation, carbohydrate metabolism, and protein synthesis. Proper hydration, honestly, is key for supporting your thyroid function. It helps maintain optimal blood flow to the thyroid gland, making sure it gets enough nutrients and iodine for hormone synthesis. Plus, efficient transport of thyroid hormones in the blood depends on good hydration, since T3 and T4 are mostly bound to plasma proteins, and proper hydration keeps plasma volume just right for their transport. Even mild dehydration, can impair the conversion of thyroid hormones from T4 to T3. This slows down metabolism, making it a bit tougher to lose fat, especially from those stubborn visceral stores. It's quite fascinating how our body works, isn't it? Now, let's talk about hormonal synergy for fat mobilization. With adequate hydration and, the intake of warm water, several things happen. Lower cortisol levels help reduce those central fat storage signals. Active thyroid hormones keep your metabolic rate higher, which in turn increases your daily caloric expenditure. And catecholamines like norepinephrine can more effectively stimulate beta-adrenergic receptors on adipocytes, triggering lipolysis. It's all about balance, really. Now, let's dive into some key scientific notes. The caloric burn from warm water thermogenesis alone is modest, likely just a few extra calories per glass. However, over time, when combined with calorie control, regular exercise, and good hydration, it contributes to creating the caloric deficit needed for sustained fat loss. It's a small piece of a bigger puzzle, but every bit counts, right? Warm water, slightly increases body temperature, prompting thermogenesis. That's a process that burns calories and triggers lipolysis, which means it preferentially mobilizes energy from those visceral fat stores. While the effect is small, honestly, consistent daily intake can enhance your overall fat metabolism, especially when you pair it with healthy diet and activity habits. While hydration in general is important, warm water actually offers some additional benefits. It helps prevent mild vasoconstriction that cold water might trigger, keeping blood flow to those peripheral fat stores steady. Plus, it supports gentle stimulation of the parasympathetic nervous system, which, optimizes digestion and nutrient mobilization, making sure fatty acids are oxidized for fuel instead of just being reesterified into fat. Adequate hydration is really essential for efficient fat breakdown because it supports enzyme activity, maintains blood volume for fatty acid transport, and helps regulate hormones linked to fat storage. Warm water enhances these effects by improving circulation, preventing vasoconstriction, and creating a metabolic environment where lipolysis operates at peak efficiency, especially for that metabolically active visceral belly fat. So, while improving GI function doesn't actually burn fat directly, it does reduce the visual bulk that's caused by things like gas, constipation, and water retention that's linked to poor digestion. This can, make the abdominal area look flatter and less distended even before any real fat loss actually happens. Warm water helps promote a healthy digestive rhythm by relaxing those smooth muscle fibers and aiding peristalsis, which really helps prevent constipation and reduces bloating. By improving nutrient absorption and minimizing carbohydrate fermentation, it also lessens abdominal gas and distension. This not only supports long-term belly fat reduction by preventing overeating, but also honestly makes the abdomen appear slimmer in the short term. Visceral fat cells have more cortisol receptors than peripheral fat cells, which makes them especially sensitive to stress hormone levels. By lowering cortisol and supporting thyroid function, warm water indirectly promotes the mobilization and oxidation of visceral fat first. And that's why belly fat can, respond relatively quickly to systemic hormonal improvements. Proper hydration from warm water supports fat loss by regulating key metabolic hormones. It helps keep cortisol levels in check, reducing central fat storage signals, while also optimizing thyroid hormone activity to sustain a higher basal metabolic rate. Together, these hormonal effects create a more favorable environment for mobilizing stored belly fat and converting it into usable energy. A healthy diet reduces belly fat by creating a calorie deficit, which encourages the body to burn stored fat. This is achieved by focusing on whole, unprocessed foods rich in fiber, which promotes fullness, lean proteins that boost metabolism and satiety, and healthy fats that support satiety. Limiting sugary drinks, refined carbohydrates, trans fats, and ultra-processed foods also plays a crucial role, as these are often high in calories and can promote fat accumulation. But, how does a healthy diet reduce belly fat? Well, first, it creates a calorie deficit. Consuming fewer calories than you burn is the most effective way to lose body fat, including belly fat. High-protein foods and fiber-rich foods help you feel fuller for longer, reducing overall calorie intake and cravings. Sufficient protein intake supports muscle repair and growth, which can increase your metabolism. Fiber slows down digestion and nutrient absorption, which helps in weight loss and reduces the absorption of calories. Key dietary components include increasing fiber intake. Focus on fruits, vegetables, legumes, and whole grains. Soluble fiber forms a gel in your digestive tract, slowing digestion and increasing feelings of fullness. So, it's really important to prioritize lean protein in your meals. Try to include lean meats, fish, eggs, beans, and low-fat dairy in your diet. These foods help boost your metabolism and can actually reduce cravings. And don't forget to choose healthy fats as well. Things like avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil not only provide satiety, but also support various body functions. Another helpful tip is to opt for whole grains. Instead of refined carbohydrates like white bread, try replacing them with whole grains such as oats, brown rice, or quinoa. This swap increases your fiber intake and helps you feel more satisfied. Now, there are also certain foods and ingredients you might want to limit, and here's what you should know. Soft drinks and fruit juices, for example, are often really high in sugar and can contribute to obesity. Also, refined carbohydrates are something to watch out for. These foods are low in nutritional value and can cause blood sugar spikes, which often leads to increased hunger. So, let's talk about trans fats. These are found in some processed and deep-fried foods, and, they are linked to increased visceral fat. Also, ultra-processed foods like confectionery, processed meats, and sugary snacks should really be consumed in moderation or, if possible, avoided altogether. Now, a key factor for success is portion control. Even with healthy foods, calories can add up, so managing portion sizes is important. And don't forget to stay hydrated. Regularly drinking water instead of sugary drinks is a simple but effective way to reduce your calorie intake. And regular exercise plays a big role too. It helps reduce belly fat by burning calories, increasing metabolism, improving insulin sensitivity, and building muscle mass, which in turn helps burn more calories even when you're at rest. A combination of aerobic exercise like brisk walking or swimming And strength training is actually the most effective approach. But honestly, it's the consistency of your routine that really brings about the best results for reducing total body fat and improving your overall body composition. So, how does regular exercise help reduce belly fat? Well, first off, aerobic exercise increases your heart rate, which means you're burning calories not just during your workout, but even after. This calorie burning contributes to overall fat loss over time. Exercise, especially strength training, helps build lean muscle mass. And here's the thing, muscle tissue burns more calories than fat tissue, even when you're just resting. This process actually boosts your overall metabolism. Plus, there's improved insulin sensitivity as well. So, let's talk about fat redistribution. Exercise, actually helps reduce the amount of harmful visceral fat, which is that deep belly fat, while at the same time promoting the creation of healthier subcutaneous fat. It's really important to incorporate different types of exercise for the best results. You should aim for at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity cardio like jogging, swimming, or biking. And adding weight training is also super helpful because it builds muscle mass, which in turn boosts your resting metabolism and helps with fat loss. Now, let's look at high intensity interval training, or HIIT for short. HIIT and sprint interval training, often called SIT, can be way more time efficient for fat loss, and they're really effective at improving cardiorespiratory fitness and insulin sensitivity. There are some key factors for success, so it's definitely worth considering these methods. Regular physical activity is really crucial for long-term fat loss and making changes to your body composition. And honestly, a mix of cardio and strength training gives you, the most comprehensive approach to targeting fat around the waist. So, when it comes to intensity and duration, the amount and intensity of exercise you need really depends on your goals. But, a consistent, moderate to vigorous routine is generally recommended for weight loss. Drinking morning warm water, eating a healthy diet, and having regular exercise daily for at least 30 days can support belly fat reduction by boosting thermogenesis and metabolism, improving digestion, aiding hormonal balance, promoting lipolysis, and reducing bloating. It's not a magic bullet, but honestly, it's a low-effort, science-backed, supportive habit that works best in combination together with consistency. If you find it useful, please share, like, comment, subscribe, and press the bell for more educational content. Thank